Hello everyone. In the last lesson we had a look at how to use RAD. This time we'll compare RAD to VŠEČ, since they're quite similar in meaning and can be tricky to use. Both RAD and VŠEČ have to do with expressing preferences. They're both essentially very similar to the English verb to like. But in English, to like covers quite a wide range of meanings. In Slovene, RAD covers a certain set of those meanings and VŠEČ another. So while both RAD and VŠEČ are very similar, if not the same as far as translating into English is concerned, there is an important difference in meaning between the two, which we'll have a look at shortly. Besides covering different meanings, both also differ in grammar. The grammar behind VŠEČ is particularly important, as it introduces the beginner to a structure that is used elsewhere as well. First, let's have a look at the differences in meaning and then move on to grammar. As you probably know by now, RAD can be used with a verb. As in, for example, I like to read, or Jaz rad berem. And if it's a noun that we like, we have to add the verb to have, which is imeti. Imeti plus RAD plus a noun is how you say I like something, if what you like is a noun and not a verb. Imeti has to be in the correct form, of course, and the noun in the correct case, the fourth case or the accusative. As in, for example, I like polenta, or Jaz imam rad polento. And it is this way of using RAD, so using it with a noun that can be substituted with VŠEČ, since the VŠEČ phrase is used with nouns. This time it's to be plus VŠEČ plus noun, or biti plus VŠEČ plus noun. Again, biti has to be in the correct form and the noun in the correct case, but this time it's the first case or the nominative. For example, I like polenta again, but this time it's polenta mi je všeč. Here, we're already beginning to see the important difference between the two. With imeti RAD, that which is liked is in the fourth case, which is to be expected, since it fits the regular pattern of subject, verb, object, where the object is in case number 4. But with biti všeč, what one likes is in the first case or the nominative. That's why we have polent a, nominative, in the VŠEČ example, and polent o, accusative, in the imeti RAD example. More on all of this in just a bit. We'll go through everything in detail, so don't worry if this is all a bit too much. For now, let's have a look at what the difference in meaning is between the two. So how does biti všeč differ from imeti RAD? Well, the most important difference is that while biti všeč refers to something being gratifying to the senses, imeti RAD implies some kind of an emotional attachment over time. It doesn't even necessarily have to do with people. Objects, songs, and so on can just as well have a special place in your heart. It's some kind of attachment we're talking about. Also, while biti všeč is more momentary, imeti RAD, like we've said, refers to something that has developed over time. Biti všeč refers to a specific thing, whereas with food, imeti RAD is used in a more general sense. With food, if you try something for the first time and enjoy it, you can't use imeti RAD. Anyway, this is a very rough outline of the differences between the two. Now let's have a look at both separately with regards to people versus objects. With people, biti všeč either means you find someone good-looking or attractive, or simply likable and pleasant to be around. With imeti RAD, we're either talking about romantic love, so you'd translate that use of imeti RAD with the English verb to love, or love between family members or friends, or caring for someone in general. But again, it's attachment that's important. Now this is a pretty grotesque example, but if a person passes away that you viewed as biti všeč, you don't necessarily feel grief. You can pretty much find anyone good-looking or likable, even people you have no deep feelings for. If an imeti RAD person, however, passes away, that implies grief and mourning. Okay, what about things? With things, biti všeč implies you enjoy the taste of something, the smell of something, or the look, sound, or feel of something. With imeti RAD, it means you're attached to an object, or an object has a special place in your heart or makes you feel a certain way. If we're talking about food, we use imeti RAD for dishes you're familiar with. You can't use imeti RAD with a dish when you try it for the first time. You would describe that like with biti všeč, and if you experience the biti všeč part on several occasions when having the same dish, you can then use imeti rad to describe that you like it in general. That's more than enough on the differences in meaning, but it's even more important to understand the grammar behind both structures. I like chocolate. I is the subject of the sentence, like is the verb, and chocolate is the object of the sentence. Well, imeti rad functions pretty much the same way. Jaz imam rad čokolado. Jaz is the subject, imam rad, for all practical purposes, is the verb, and čokolado the object. And if you've watched the lessons on case, you know that Slovene does with cases here what English does with word order. In other words, we know what the subject is and what the object is in the Slovene sentence not because of what is in slot 1 and what in slot 3, but rather due to a slight change in the word's appearance. And that's where cases come in. The subject is in the first case or the nominative, and the object is in the fourth case or the accusative. So this all makes perfect sense, or at least it should make sense if you're familiar with the basics of cases. If it doesn't, watch or rewatch the lessons on that. But what about biti všeč? Well, the problem with biti všeč is that it works differently in terms of grammar. In English, it would be something like this. Chocolate is enjoyable to me. Notice that chocolate, which was previously the object, is now grammatically the subject of the sentence. Let's simplify things and say is enjoyable is the verb, and what was previously the subject, the I in I like chocolate, is now an object, to me. So basically the subject and object changed roles, right? Chocolate and I switched places. In Slovene, that's čokolada mi je všeč. Čokolada is the subject, je všeč is the verb, and mi is the object. Don't worry why the colors are not in the same order. There's a word order rule at play here that we won't go into that forces us to put the word mi in the middle. If we ignore the word order difference, we see that both the English and Slovene function pretty much in the same way. The subject, just like in the previous slide, has to be in the nominative or the first case. Now, if you're familiar with cases, you know that the preposition to, as in to give to someone, is often the third case or dative in Slovene, and that's exactly the case here. Mi is jaz in the dative case. So essentially, two big changes took place when going from imeti rad to biti všeč. Let's put the two Slovene sentences together to see what exactly those two changes are. Jaz imam rad čokolado. Čokolada mi je všeč. The first thing is that the subject and object have changed. Jaz and čokolada have exchanged the roles they play in the sentence. Čokolada, or čokolado, is the object in the first sentence, but the subject in the second. Jaz is the subject in the first sentence, but the object in the second. That's the first important difference. Like we said, the verb is no longer in the same place, but that's not important now. And the second important thing that has changed is that in the first example, the object is in the accusative or the fourth case, while in the second example, it's in the third case or the dative. Let's put all of this in a table format so we don't have so much information on screen at once. With imeti rad, the person who likes something is the grammatical subject, and so in the first case or the nominative, which is what you'd expect. Whereas the thing that one likes is the grammatical object, a direct object in the fourth case or the accusative, which again is what you'd expect. With biti všeč, the person who likes is the grammatical object, but this time in the third case or the dative, because something is enjoyable to someone. And the thing that is liked is now actually the grammatical subject, and in the first case or the nominative. Whenever you forget what biti všeč is about and how it works, just remember the sentence chocolate is enjoyable to me, or come up with a similar sentence that reminds you how the Slovene structure works. Okay, we also said this grammar point is important because it's not limited to the všeč structure, but is used elsewhere as well. Here is a list of the most common dative phrases that work in the same way. One of the first things you learn is how to say my name is. For example, my name is David. Now you can introduce yourself in other ways as well, but a very common expression is name is to me plus the actual name. In Slovene, ime mi je. For example, ime mi je David. For I'm nauseous, we say bad is to me, or slabo mi je. I'm hot or I feel hot is to me, or vroče mi je. For I don't care, we say all the same to me, or vseeno mi je. To be sorry, as in to feel ashamed of something or to feel sadness over something, is something along the lines of sad is to me, or žal mi je. And finally, if someone is bored in Slovene, boredom is to him or to her. In the case of I, it's dolgčas mi je again, since mi is the dative of jaz. And finally, let's list a few examples that are hopefully easy to remember and that'll show the difference in meaning between the two. We won't cover all the possibilities and shades of RAD and VŠEČ. I just tried coming up with a few examples where both structures are part of the same sentence. Rada imam gobovo juho, ampak ta gobova juha mi ni všeč. I like mushroom soup in general, but I don't like this mushroom soup. Rad imam kavo, ampak ta kava mi ni všeč. I like coffee, but I don't like this coffee. Ta hiša mi sploh ni všeč, ampak vseeno jo imam rad. I don't like this house at all, but it still has a special place in my heart. Ta slika mi sploh ni všeč, ampak vseeno jo imam rada. I don't like this picture at all, but it still has a special place in my heart. Well, that's it for this lesson. I hope it gives you something to work with when deciding how to say I like something in Slovene. Until next time, good luck, study hard, and aim for the stars.